Welcome back to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. In this episode, we're going to start working on the cab. But before I get to that, I fooled you all again into thinking I knew what I was talking about. I amaze myself sometimes. When I said I was finished with the sub base, I pretty much was finished with the sub base, but I screwed up on it in one detail. And I went back to look at photos of Unit 2317 to see if I needed to paint any surfaces yellow, like safety yellow stripes on the edge of steps and stuff like that. But I did not have to. But something caught my eye that caused me to say crap. So it's not a big mistake, easily fixed. And at that same time, I decided, I should probably put the ATS box on. I was going to put it on at the end when everything's put together, but I'm thinking it doesn't get in the way of anything, and it should be on there anyways. That way, when I paint the sub base, everything's painted in place. But the detail that caught my eye that wasn't supposed to be there, and I have fixed it. Let me zoom in a little. Oh, yeah, I don't need to zoom in. Anyway, I had put the drop step on the front of the right side battery box, the engineer's side. Well, it's not supposed to be there. And it's not supposed to be there because there's an ATS box on top of the battery box. So I cut it off, sanded it down, cut it off, sanded it, filled it in, sanded it, and then put a new coat of primer over that area after I put the ATS box on. So this is the 3-strap ATS box. So anyway, so the sill unit is done, but I need to be a bit more proactive in researching what I'm doing before I do it. I have a tendency to, once again, think I know what I'm talking about, and I'm actually not. But that's because I model so many different things that, that's an excuse, but I should be paying more attention to what I'm doing. And I need to follow the adage, trust but verify. That'll help you in a lot of situations. As long as you trust what you're thinking and what you're feeling, but something in the back of your head says, you need to verify that before you put it into action. So that's what I need to do more with these models, because it's caught me a few times. So anyways, let's put that aside and let's talk about the cab. So let me move the camera into place and I'll go over what I'm going to be doing to this cab, and we'll go through it step by step as I do it. Okay, so I've got the cab here, and what am I going to be doing with it? Well, for starters, what I'm going to do is I'll be filling in these 2 holes. Then I will be cutting off this weld line, sanding it all down, and then I'll reinstall this weld line because it doesn't break between the horns. So it'll be a solid weld line that goes all the way across. It'll be made out of 5,000 styrene, and it'll be the same width. There's also a couple of weld lines that you see where the number boards end, and then they go flat across the front of the face of the number board area. There's a weld line, a really small one, that goes from that point back to these weld lines here. So I'll put that in. Next, what I'll do is I'll cut this light housing out. Then I have to drill the holes for the windshield wipers on the front and the back. I also need to drill the holes for the wind deflectors. And I'll have to check, but I don't believe that the Pennsylvania cabs have sunshades. I don't think they do. This is another thing we need to trust but verify. So I'll do that. And then I have to put in the Sinclair antenna. And I have to check on that because I've seen some roof shots of Pennsylvania GP35s that don't have anything on the roof, no antenna or anything. So I have to check to see what's going on with that. Typically it's a Sinclair antenna. And then the other thing I need to do is I need to cut a cavity out of this area here so that my tower LEDs will fit flush and go into the holes properly. So I'll show you how I do my lights. It's pretty easy. This isn't a tower LED, but it's one of the LEDs that I use in the back end, in the long hood end. But basically, I'll drill the holes out just enough, and these LEDs will slip right in. They won't go all the way to the front, so I'll use, do I have it out here? No, I don't. I'll use the Detail Associates 7-inch lenses with the stub on the end. I'll cut that stub back so that goes right up against the lights there, and it'll look really, really nice. So those are the things that I need to do. Oh, the other thing I'll do is I'll cut this door handle off, and I'll put a precision scale cab door handle there and back here. And that pretty much takes care of the construction of the cab. I'll show you how, the windows that go in will be the A and B windows, and I'll show you how I do that with the using the stock side windows and such. So we'll get all that covered. I'll go over everything as I get to it. I keep forgetting to address this question, and I thought I need to just do it so that I don't forget about it again. In my completing the sill unit video, the construction of the sill unit video, one of the viewers, Jazz Life, asked the question about the draft gear, the coupler pockets, and where did I get the coupler lift bar brackets from. For the second part of the question, where did I get the coupler lift bar brackets from? I designed those and had them 3D printed, and then I sent them to Details West, and he cast me up a whole bunch of trees of them. So those are my own design. They're not the greatest, but they work really well. It would be great if the Details or the Detail Associates brackets were available, especially in brass. But those brackets, the molds are really separating, so there's a huge parting line on them. And if you try to get that parting line off, you pretty much destroy the bracket. So I thought, well, I searched for a 3D printing company that could print in a material that could be vulcanized. And although on most of them the centers closed up where the wire goes through, the majority, the part of the bracket, or the whole part, came out really well. The backs of them have a little bit of a rounded surface, but that's okay. It's very, very slight, and it allows me to get CA in behind them, and it glues them in really, really well. I just have to drill out the brackets, which for what I need, they work fantastic. As far as why I did not change out the buffer plate, quite honestly, the simple answer is the buffer plate doesn't bother me anymore. Something I need to address about that and the whole of what I'm getting to in my modeling here, when you're working on an individual model, your eyes are seeing everything that you want to change, everything that you want to cut off or replace or add or whatever. But when you're operating trains, it's a whole different story. You don't notice any of that stuff at all. You're just seeing the whole picture. So with the new way that I'm doing things, I'm not prototype modeling per se. I mean, with this model I am, of course. And I still like prototype modeling. Let me just say this. I'm not fine scale detailing anymore. I'm adding detail that I want, that I can get through real quick. But stuff that's going to take me a while, that'll cause me to procrastinate, I'm just doing without. And these buffer plates, it doesn't bother me anymore. And it's a lot of work to get those off without nicking another detail or gouging too far or cutting too much off. It takes a lot of work to get those Kato buffer plates off, just the buffer plate and nothing else. So I'm living with the Kato stuff. I'm pretty much living with the models the way they are, as far as most of the stuff. I'll add things to them. I enjoy doing that. I'll do a little bit of cutting if I have to add a part in or something, but major surgery is not going to happen anymore. Now I may be eating my words on that in the next project, but if I want to do, let's just put it this way. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it. If I don't, I'm not going to. The reasoning being is just I want to get the models done. I enjoy it and stuff. And I'm not getting paid for this, to do this. So if you want to cut the buffer plates off, that's fine. Just, nip it off and then get a really sharp knife and start carefully carving. It's really hard to get a piece of sandpaper in there to sand that out and stuff. But anyway, I appreciate your questions, and I'll answer them the best I can. And if I can't, I will tell you that I can't. But my reasoning for the buffer plates is I'm fine with the Kato stuff. All right, so the glue has, the CA has set in, and it's time to carve all that off. Oh, and real quick, another question that was asked is if the person, I can't remember, I'm sorry, asked if they had missed the painting of the handrails. And no, I just didn't put that on camera, but it sounds like it's something that I need to do, and I will do that in an upcoming video. Even if just one person wants to see something in process or how it's done, I'll do it for you. If people want to learn, I think that's great, and I'll do what I can to help out. So I'll do a separate video on just painting handrails or how I do it. Now granted, the tools I have, most likely most people don't have, but the key feature to the handrails, the Delrin handrails, is a grit blaster. So getting back to this, I just got a new blade out, the 100 pack. Again, I can't stress sharp blades, and I can't stress getting yourself a bunch of 100 packs, because you'll go through them. I go through them fairly quickly. Okay, so I've got a new blade in there. So now I'm just going to slice this stuff off. There we go. Now when you're slicing, I typically angle away from the model, so if it slips, it comes out. I mean, maybe I'll cut myself. I don't know, I've cut myself plenty of times. My fingers have little tiny cut marks in them all over the place. But I'm just gonna slice this off. If you have a new sharp knife, or if you're really good at sharpening these things, a sharp knife, you have more control over your cut. And I put this finger up against the part, and that helps control the pressure that I put on the blade. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to slice off. Got to keep an eye on where you're slicing. You see how I'm slicing the top of the cab there? Which is okay. That's very, very minor, and it'll sand down just fine. What you don't want to do is cut these edges. So be very mindful at the angle your blade is going in at. Now I'm just going to do some scraping. I'm going to show you something here in just a second. You know how you do wet sanding? Is you wet the surface and use sandpaper? The same process can work with a blade. So we put some water on there. It helps the blade glide really easy. The downside to it is you can't really, after you start doing it a lot, you can't see what's going on, but this one's working out really well. You'll get a smoother scrape out of it. Now the dirtiness of the yellow is from the dirty grit in the grit blaster. The way I strip shells is I soak them in isopropyl alcohol for a day or two. Then I pull them out and I let them dry. And then I grit blast them, and the alcohol dries out the paint and just makes it kind of like powdery, so the grit blaster has a really easy time of taking the paint off. So there, I've got most of what I need off. Now I'm going to use some sanding sticks. So I've got a coarse, medium, and fine sanding sticks here, and I'm going to use the medium right off the bat. So I'm going to wet sand it. And what you want to do, since these are flexible, you want to try to stay away from the edges and having this curve over the edges, having the sponge curve over the edge, because you'll round off the edges. And I'll just work in a circular motion. And you don't want to just work over the area that you cut the detail off. You want to work out around it also. That way you blend your sanding. Alright, so that takes care of cleaning off the roof portion. Next up, I'm going to be cutting off the headlight housing. So I'm going to get everything cut off before I do any adding of anything. So I cut that off, I got to cut the door handles off and such. So I'm going to put this in the mill, and it's just going to go in just like that. And then I'm going to come out with a milling bit and just go back and forth until I clean it off. Alright, so I've got the light housing cut off. I used a 40 thousandths bit, and it was just a matter of putting this in the vise like this. I had to make sure that the parallels were all on the same plane surface. So I had one here, and then I had one right across here, so that nothing sat on the door handle or the hinges, so everything sat flat. So with that in place, just clamp it in lightly and just went back and forth and cleaned that off. Next up, I came back and I cut the door handle off, which I have to do on the back. Again, basically the same way as I did the roof. I will come in and very nice sharp blade, the same blade, it's still sharp. And just slowly slice it off. And scrape it. And then sand it. And there we go. So that's the door handle. So now when it's time to put the new door handle on, I know where to put it because there's still remnants of the old door, the door latch inside the seam where the door is. So I can just put it right back over that area. A little bit of, there we go. So that takes care of cutting everything off. Oh, you know what? On the Pennsylvania units, they do not have, or at least the one I'm modeling, they do not have the a sunshade rack. So I need to cut that off. I'm going to do it the same way, just like I sliced this off. I'm going to come back and I'm going to slice that off. I need to check and see if they have flag brackets. I don't think they do. If they don't, I'll be cutting that off as well. So I don't think I need to show you that. It's the same. Slice it, sand it, and it'll be done. Same for this side. After that's done, I need to come back in here and I need to cut a relief in here for the LED, the tower LEDs. You see how this recess in here, I need to cut it all the way down to the bottom of that recess and then come out about here and about here, and then come back, like make a rectangle like that. Come back so I can slip the tower LEDs in there. I'll just use a maybe a 1/16 or actually I'll use an 1/8 inch milling bit because the 1/8 inch bit is the same size as the shank. That way I can get right up close to the front here and cut that out. Alright, I've got everything cut off that I needed cut off. So I got the light housing cut off, I got the cab handles cut off, I've got the weld strip cut off, cab handle cut off. There was a drip rail over the window, so that portion of the sunshade bracket I left on the cab. So I put this in the mill and I just cut off the area underneath the drip rail. So I've got that taken care of. I cut off the flag bracket, that's taken care of. And on the inside, I've cut the recess for the tower LEDs. So these will be the LEDs I'll be using. I do need to drill. That's one of the reasons I put this strip in here, was so that I could get a drill bit straight into that hole. I do need to drill it out a bit so I can get these lights in there. So right now, that's what's left, is I need to drill all the holes I need. So I need the holes for the wind deflectors, and the bottom hole is placed at the bottom of the window. So the way that I'll show you how I do that. I don't need to explain it. I need to drill the holes for the windshield wipers. I've got the center wiper that I've already painted for a model that I did before, which actually you'll be seeing coming up when I start working on the hood, because I'm going to work on that model at the same time and get that done along with this model. But anyway, so I got the windshield wipers done. The way that I did these is I painted them black first, and then I shot them with all-clad stainless steel. So I'll be doing that to the side windows, or the door window and engineer window windshield wipers. So I'll be doing that with this. These are the A-line windshield wipers, but they're pretty much the same as the the details are the detail west, detail associates ones. So I need to drill the holes for the details west wind deflectors, the windshield wipers, and the hole for the antenna. Now the antenna, I did look up where it's supposed to be placed. It should be basically, if you drew a line straight up the number boards and then brought that straight back, and be on that line, and then somewhere right about here. I don't know the exact location forward of the rear of the cab, but it's somewhere right about in here. So I'll get that drilled as well. So the first thing I need to do is just cut these out. I've got a little blade right here that I can put, well, you know what, I'll just use these larger blades because this is stainless steel. So I just need to cut one of these out. There's a half etch line right there. So let me zoom that in a little bit. How's that? There we go. So we'll cut that one. Of course, that broke the tip of the blade. So the thing about stainless steel, it's not easy to cut. There we go. Alright. So, first thing I'm going to do is measure the width of this. It's 7 thousandths, basically 8 thousandths. So I'm going to use a 10 thousandths drill bit. Let me see, what do I got here? 0.0114. I'll use one of these. And I'll get my tool out here, and we'll find. Now, these have the same type of wind deflector on both sides of the window, so there isn't a mirrored one. So what I'm going to do is, it's right at the bottom and right along this edge. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a mark right, let me see, so we go. Actually, what I'm going to do, so that I know that I get it right on all of them, so they're all in the same spot, take my calipers and I'm going to come up here, and I want that hole to be right about there. So I'll put a burnished line there, a burnished line there, burnish a line right there, and right there. Now, out from the window, we're going to go approximately 15 thousandths, and I'm going to burnish a line up. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just like that, just so you can see the glare in the light. Just like that. And just like that. Now, where the vertical line crosses the horizontal line, I'll just put a little pinprick. Just like that. Okay. Now we'll get this drill bit all set up. And I'll drill that first hole. And I'm going to do that also for all other places. Alright, so we'll drill all those bottom holes out. Alright, so those are all taken care of. Now I need to put the other hole in. So am I going to measure it? No. I am going to use this part right here. I'm going to stick it into the bottom hole, and then I'm going to lightly scribe a line across the vertical line. Now I can see that, and I'll do a little pinprick right there, right where they cross each other. And I'll go ahead and drill those out. Alright, I'll go do the same thing for the other side. Put it in the hole. Make a small mark on the vertical line. Put a mark where you need to drill. And drill it out. And now I'll show you that they fit in. Just like that. So these are all going to actually be bent back, but the pins will still be in the same place. So that takes care of those holes. Let me get reset up and we'll do the holes for the windshield wipers. Okay, so to get the, I mean, it's really basic, just drilling a hole. I just eyeball it and find the center of each window, and then I'll just come in here and right at the top of the gasket just put a locating mark. So that's pretty easy, and I will just drill them with the small drill bit, with the same drill bit I used on the side windows for the wind deflectors. This is just a pilot drill. Now, I'll drill those out later. These windows, the hole needs to be at least 18 thousandths, or 19 thousandths for a little bit of clearance. These holes in the center need to be 15 thousandths. Now, because these are connected, I have to measure and get that done right. So center to center on the windows is 0.41, 410 thousandths. Now, these pins on the double arm, not the double arm, but the connected windshield wipers that go over the center window, Those are 390 thousandths, 0.39. So what I do is I locate the center of each window and then come inboard 10 thousandths. And that takes care of where they're at, mark it, and then drill them. Now I can come back and drill them with the correct size drill. So that takes care of the windshield wiper holes. Now I can do the hole in the top for the antenna. I don't think you need to see me do that. It's no different. I'll just locate where the center of the hole is, get the appropriate drill size out, and drill a hole through it. Okay, we got all the holes drilled. I was wrong about the location of the antenna. It wasn't back here. It was center of the cab, front to back, and then I estimated it to be about 0.275 to in from this edge here. If I draw a line straight down where the center of the number board is, it would be more to the outside here. So I found some photographs that gave me a pretty good idea where this antenna is located, so that's where I located it. So that's taken care of. You saw me drill all the holes for the wind deflectors and the windshield wipers, so that's all set. Now it's time to do the LEDs. So these are the tower LEDs that I'll be using, and I'm not an electronics expert, but through experience using these quite a few times, the positive side is the long lead. And I can test that, or I tested it, and it is exactly that. So the longer lead is the positive side. So I want to stack these with the positive sides on top of each other, basically like that. So in order to do that, I need to stick them into the holes and do all the bending and stuff like that, and get them soldered together. But first off, I need to drill these holes out. Now what I'm going to do is drill it all the way through for the narrowest part of the light, and the narrowest part of the light is out toward the end here. So I'm going to measure that, and that's going to come out to, make sure this is at 0, that's going to come out to about 0.073. Now I've got some drill bits here that I bought especially for this. The base of the light back here is 0.078. So I don't need to go all the way through with 0.78. So let me see which one is which here. I've got a number 46 and a number 47. So let me see, a number 46 is an 081, and a number 47 is an 078. So I need a number, let's see, 073. I need a number 49. Do I have that? Let me see, I think I might have that. Let me get this out. These are my 070s. So what do I got here? 075, 070, 0.073 right there. Actually, it's 0.074, but that'll work just fine. I don't think I have an 073. Nope. So there's my 073. It's actually like 0.0735, I think. What's that? 0.07. Yeah, it's an 073 because it goes from number 50 is 070, 49 is 073, 48 is 076. So I will use that one. And that's what I'm going to use to go all the way through. Gotta put the drill bit out longer. We'll just let the hole guide the drill bit through. There we go. And there we go. Now, let's see how these fit. Okay, that one is tight because, of course, it's 073. And what did I say this was? 074. But it climbs as it goes down to 078. That's really tight. I don't want it to be that tight, so I am going to go in with an 047. Let's see, what was 047? Or, I'm sorry, a number 47 was 0785. So let's give that a shot, because that's what I've been doing my other ones with. Let me check that to make sure that's what it is. That says, make sure this is at 0. That says 077. Well, let's give that a try. See what happens. Let me put this back in its case. Where did I put its case? There it is, right there. Alright, so let's get this going. This should work just fine. Again, it's too short. There we go. It's not tight enough. This yellow plastic is really soft, but it's kind of gummy feeling also. There we go. Alright, now let's see how that works. Get all the shavings out. That's still really, that one works good. That one goes in real nicely, and it comes out right to the edge there. Now I believe what I did on my, on another model is I cut that back just a little bit because I want the pin from the lens, from the Details Associate lens, I want that pin to go in there a little bit. This one's a bit tight. Let's see how that works. What do we got here? Now that's pretty tight, but yeah, that's still very tight up there. Let me put it in through the front. Let's give that a try. Still very, very tight for that one. How about this one? That's still tight on that one. Let me try an 046, but not all the way through. Now an 046 is the 081, but I'm not going to go all the way through with this. I'm just going to go about halfway. Yeah, just a little bit more. There we go. There we go. So that's what it'll be like on the inside, but there'll be two of them. So now I need to push that out. That's pretty tight. I don't want it to be like that. And I'm going to cut a little bit off that end. That's good. Okay, that works. And this also works just fine in that one. Okay, so now that I've got those drilled out, I need to keep them that way when I do the soldering. So I'm going to turn on my soldering iron here, get it warmed up. I should have got all this stuff out earlier. I get my flux brush. And my solder. So I got that. Now I had a junk Gp35. So what I did is I cut the cab roof off. And I also got a piece for the long hood end. And I've drilled out the holes and everything for it. So those will fit in there. But before I do that, I need to cut these down a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll take them over to the mill and I'm going to cut, let's see how far out they go again. I'm going to cut about 40 thousandths off of that. And that'll give me a decent pin length to work with. So let me cut, I'm going to cut 50 thousandths off of these. So let me stop the video. I'm just going to go put these in the mill straight up, touch the top, and then come down 50 thousandths and just cut it off. All right, so I've got the towers cut down about 50 thousandths. After I do that, I just polish them back out again on my blue jeans. So now I got to make sure that they're oriented the same. Let me drill that out just a little bit. There we go. I want them to be tight, but I want them to be snug, but I don't want them to be too tight. There we go. That'll work. As long as they're up against the face of the cab inside there. I got to make sure that the positive side matches the positive side. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is, now eventually I'm going to be cutting these wires short, these leads short, so they're going to both be about the same length. But I'll know which side is the positive side. See if I can zoom in and you can check this out. See if I can get that in focus. There we go. You see right inside here? See this big blob of metal and this little blob of metal? This little blob is the positive side. The big blob is the negative side. That's how I'll know. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to bend this lead down. Make sure they're both at the, I got to definitely make sure they're both at the same place. You know what? Let me take this out a second. I need to do something here. Yeah, that's why. Alright, I'm going to take my chisel blade. I was always wondering why this wasn't... There's a little bit of a lip right there. Clean this
out so that they fit better. There, that should take care of that. Okay, so now let's stick those back in there and see how it goes. There's a little bit of plastic sticking into the hole there. There we go. Okay, now that's up nice and tight against the front there. Make sure this is oriented the same. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to bend this lead down to touch let me move it to the side, move that over to the side a little bit, bend that down, and I'll bring it back up on top. There we go. So I got that one bent down, and now this lead needs to come up a little bit. I'm going to bend this one down. We bring it over to the side a little bit. We'll bend that one down. Whoop. Bring it over the top. I want them directly over each other. Make sure everything's seated properly. Okay, so now it's ready to be soldered. So I'm going to take some, move all my plastic parts out of the way, and take some flux. A little bit on there, like that. And we're going to take some solder. That one's done. And we'll just do the other side. And that one's done. Alright, so now I can pull these out. And I've got my two lights. And since this is good strong ABS, I'm not worried about it melting because I'm not in there with heat for very long. Alright, so that's taken care of. Next step, sorry I didn't have everything ready, bear with me. Okay, I like to clean up my solder joint, so I use some alcohol. You can use alcohol or lacquer thinner. Use some brushing too much. I don't want these videos to be too long, but I mean I want to show you everything also. So I clean up the solder joint with some alcohol. Okay, and now we'll just cut this top one off. And I'll get my diamond file out here, and we'll take the edge off. There we go. Alright, so now what do? Well, we need the wires. So the positive side on the front light is the blue wire, and the negative side is the white wire. So I need a blue and a white. So here's our blue. I'm going to get that on there. Get a good long piece out here. There we go. That'll be plenty long to get to where it needs to go. So actually it doesn't have to go that far, so I'm going to cut them at, what do we think here? We're going to go approximately, let's cut them at 2 inches. Let's cut them at, let's do 3 inches just so we know we have enough. So there's 3 inches of blue wire. And let me get my white wire out here. And we need 3 inches of white wire. Now I'm going to be using the LEDs that are on board, so I'm good to go with the resistors. Okay, so there's the white wire. Now what I need to do is strip that and tin it. So let's do that. So let's strip that. Let's strip that one, the blue one. Okay, let's tin that. Let's get some goo on there. Let's tin that. That one's taken care of, and let's get some goo on this one. Let's tin that. Alright, now let's get those soldered onto these leads. Get my trusty vise out here. And so the positive side is this side, long lead. So let me get some goo on this one. And let me get some goo on that one. And let me just make sure I'm doing this right, because I don't like not doing it right. Let's see, blah 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 blah. Blue wire, positive side. Yep, the plus anode end is connected to the blue function. Okay, we're good to go. Like I said, trust but verify. I don't want to do stuff wrong like I've been doing. Let's put some goo on that side. And the positive side is right over here. So we're going to hold that in place right there. Get some solder on here. We're going to hold that wire in place. I can keep things from moving. And we're good to go. Now do the white wire. Get some goo on it. There we go. Get my hand held on this thing. Get some solder on the soldering iron. And we're good to go. Alright, now do what I want to do is clean up those joints again with some alcohol. Okay, now I want to cut these leads off, but not cut the wires, of course. And there we go. Now I've got my wires and my lights. I can turn off the soldering iron, get the cab back over here, and we can test fit everything. And I don't want to push it in all the way because it's really tight, but that's basically how it's going to be. And I need to make the lenses for this, but before I make the lenses for it, I have to glue on the bezel, or I'm sorry, the housing, the light housing. So let me get all cleaned up and we'll go to assembling. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video here. The next video will be detailing. Alright, before I end this video, let's test these lights out, make sure they work, right? So let me put the negative side over here, put the positive side over here, and we have some light. So they do work. So everything is working just fine. So that takes care of prepping the cab for detailing. We've got all the holes drilled, everything cut off that needs to be cut off. Got the lights going, you saw that. So those are ready to be installed when it's time. And so it's now time to install all the details. In the next video, I'll be going over installing the headlight housing, the antenna, and getting the horn prepped. Now the windshield wipers, they just need to get painted. They go on last. I need to paint the interior of the cab and get it sealed. And then I need to get the windows in. I'll be using AMB laser cut windows, so I'll get those in, and they have the masking around them, so I can put those in, leave the masking on, and everything's good to go. And then peel the masking off after everything's done. So I got that going, and pretty much that's it. So, oh, and I've got the number boards. I need to grit blast the number boards, paint them black, and get those ready for decaling. And other than that, that takes care of this video. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm making some really good, fast progress. Once this cab is done, it's only the hood. There's not a whole lot to do to the hood. I mean, there is, but there isn't. I mean, there's stuff that I need to cut off and things like that, but we'll go over that when the time comes. So let me end this video. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.